My parents called to tell me I needed to go to Judy's house to meet the guy she was being set up with. Judy, meanwhile, was fast asleep right next to me. I thought it was a joke. "Judy," I whispered, "they said they found a guy for you to meet." She mumbled a lazy and pulled me into her arms. "Okay, Tom. In a bit, you can pick out an outfit for me and help me with my hair." When I just lay there, frozen, Judy opened her eyes and scoffed. "Seriously, what's wrong with you? We're just friends with benefits. You didn't actually think I was going to marry you, did you?" I couldn't process it. I just fumbled around awkwardly. I couldn't bring myself to look at Judy. I pushed her away, grabbed my clothes off the floor, and threw them on. "Tom, look at me." Judy propped herself up on her elbows, a playful look in her eyes. "You don't really think we're boyfriend and girlfriend, do you?" The words "friends with benefits" were ringing in my ears. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't button my shirt. Judy threw back the covers, revealing her slim, sexy waist, and knelt on the edge of the bed. She reached out and expertly buttoned it for me. I kept my head down. "Who's the guy?" I forced a bitter laugh. "Don't tell me your dad just grabbed some random guy from a singles event." I looked at the red marks all over my body in the mirror, my back still aching. Judy, wearing only a pair of gray silk pajama pants, came up behind me and buried her head in my neck. "It's David." She raised those beautiful, almond-shaped eyes of hers and repeated it. "David, that finance major from college. You know, I'm actually pretty nervous about seeing him." My hand froze on my tie. Of course, I remembered him. Judy had a huge crush on him, but before she could confess, she heard he'd left the country. I thought that was all in the past. Judy stared at me and pressed her lips together. "Tom, don't you go getting any ideas about me. We've known each other since we were in diapers. I mean, yeah, you're handsome, but I see you as one of the guys. You're my perfect meal buddy, car buddy, bed buddy." Felt like a punch to the gut. A chill ran through me as I looked at her smiling face and barely managed to smile back. She went on, "Besides, I know what you're going to wear every day, right down to your underwear and socks. It's so boring. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and see you sleeping next to me, and it actually scares me. I'm scared that if we ended up getting married, like our families always joke about, my whole life would be mapped out from start to finish." She shuddered. Like the very thought of it was terrifying. I dug my nails into my palm, fighting back tears. "I have to go." I threw on my coat and fled like a deserter. I thought Judy and I were dating. After all, we did everything most couples do. We ate together, went on dates together, hung out with friends together. We'd kiss each other square on the lips during Truth or Dare and say "I love you" without a second thought. Judy would personally pick me up from work on rainy days. She'd sneak her hand into mine under the table at family dinners. I had no idea that what I thought was a 6-month relationship was just a game of house to her. "Tom?" My mom tapped on the car window, peering in with concern. I snapped out of it. Seeing my red-rimmed eyes in the rearview mirror, I quickly answered, wiped my face, and got out of the car. "Mom!" I threw my arms around her, hoping she wouldn't see what a mess I was. "I missed you," I said with a laugh. Carrying a bag of groceries, she took my arm, seemingly relieved. "What are you doing just sitting in the car, honey? You gave me a scare. Didn't you see the news about people suffocating in their cars?" I nodded along. Suddenly, my mom's tone shifted. "Oh, by the way, Tom, Judy's date is coming over soon. Your uncle and aunt are taking this one seriously. I hear Judy's been planning this for a long time. She said she was worried the guy might feel awkward, and having another guy there would help him relax. Your aunt and I have been best friends for so many years, so when we go over today..." My mom looked at me, struggling to find the right words. "Yeah," I said, forcing a smile. "Don't worry, Mom. Just break the ice, say some nice things." "I get it." Mom gave me a look full of pity. Of course, she knew. The picture of me and Judy sat on my nightstand. I treasured every single thing she'd ever given me, not to mention the notebooks filled with my barely concealed feelings for her. How could my mom not know? We walked home in silence. Just as we got to the door, I spoke up. Dad's retiring next month. Let's move to Florida. I looked at my mom's shocked face and smiled. You guys have always talked about retiring there. I don't have any big dreams anyway. I'd be happy being a coach and staying by your side. Sitting in Judy's house with my parents felt different this time. We were always joking around before. The last time we were here, we snuck into her bedroom to kiss under the pretense of playing video games. This time, oh, Mr. Kent, you have no idea how much effort this girl of mine put into chasing this David guy, Judy's mom said. I told her, why don't you just ask him out? But no, she had to insist on dating with the intention of marriage, and made her dad pull all sorts of strings just to get him to come over today for a setup. I looked around at the meticulously decorated house, filled with roses. There were fruits, candies, and tea on the table. Even Judy's little dog was wearing a bright red sweater. And there was Judy, checking herself in the mirror over and over, making sure she was absolutely perfect. The funny thing is, just last night we were wrapped up in each other, and she was passionately kissing the mole on my waist. And the shirt I was wearing? She bought it for me. Ah, it's such a shame, Mr. Reed said, grabbing my dad's hand. We always said when they were kids that we'd be family one day. We even had a little childhood engagement for them. Mr. Reed glanced at me. I really love this kid, Tom. Not only is he handsome, but he's got a great personality. So steady and cheerful. I lowered my eyes, afraid to respond. I was scared that if I wasn't careful, the tears would start falling. Dad. Judy frowned, clearly annoyed. You said it yourself, that was your generation's thing. You and Mr. Kent are close, so why don't you two become sworn brothers? What's it got to do with me? What century are we living in? Stop bringing up that old-fashioned stuff. She showed no regard for the adult's feelings. Then she turned to me, her tone harsh, as if I'd put her dad up to it. Tom, where's that watch my mom gave you? When I didn't respond, Judy walked right up to me, grabbed my wrist, and pushed up my sleeve. The one they said was the token for our engagement. I'm worried David will see it and get upset. The words hung in the air. Her mom and my dad, who had been sipping tea, both froze. My mom, who was arranging flowers for Judy, stopped too. Suddenly, the atmosphere turned incredibly ugly. My mom looked at me, and the vase and scissors in her hands clattered onto the table. She was about to stand up, but Judy's mom grabbed her arm. Mrs. Reed shot up, stood protectively in front of me, and gave Judy a hard shove. Judy Reed, what do you think you're doing? Never mind that nothing is set in stone with you and that David guy. That watch, you cried and begged and got on your knees to get Tom to wear it when you were 17. It was like Judy finally snapped back to reality. She remembered that year when someone confessed their feelings for me. In a panic, she'd snuck some alcohol, stolen the watch in the middle of the night, and shown up at my house crying and making a scene, even kneeling, begging me to wear her family's heirloom watch. She tugged at her collar, took a deep breath, and looked at me with a smile. I'm just a little on edge. You can't take back a gift. You should keep it. It's fine, I'll give it back. I'll go get it from my house now, I said, cutting her off calmly as I stood up. I'll be right back, it won't take long. Before anyone could react, I grabbed my coat and strode out. When I returned with the watch, I was about to knock when I heard a cheer from inside. Welcome. Judy's smile froze the moment she saw me. What are you doing here? She didn't seem to expect me to come back, nor did she think I would actually return the watch. When I handed it to her, she looked completely shocked. Finally, she took it and whispered in my ear, Tom, for the sake of our partnership, don't you dare cause any trouble for me today. David has a big ego. Don't say the wrong thing and piss him off. I didn't even want to look at her. David was a man, but wasn't I? I looked at the person I had loved my entire youth, and a bone-deep chill threatened to swallow me whole. 10 minutes later, David arrived, escorted by the matchmaker. The parents all chatted together, getting along well. That was why my parents had to be there too. Amidst the subtle pleasantries, They laid out our family's financial situation and future prospects for the matchmaker. Throughout it all, Judy sat next to David, every gesture a picture of affection. She was almost 30, but she was acting like a teenager with her first crush. I had nothing to do, which was fine by me. I was just looking for a chance to slip out. Unexpectedly, David turned to me with a warm smile. "You must be Tom, right? I've heard so much about you. The star athlete from back in the day." Caught off guard, I waved my hands dismissively. "Oh no, that was just my friends messing around in college." I figured the attention would shift away quickly. But David pressed on. "Not at all. I remember you won the long-distance race at the track meet, and the next day the stands were full of girls bringing you water." Before I could say anything, David nudged Judy's arm, feigning curiosity. "You two grew up together. How did you not end up a couple? I remember you were so close, like two peas in a pod. Everyone thought you'd get married." All eyes turned to me. I don't know how to describe it, but this polite, gentle-looking guy was giving off some serious hostility. "Oh, him?" Judy looked at David and handed him the apple she'd been peeling. "To you guys, he's a man, some kind of star athlete. But to me, he's just a kid who hasn't grown up yet." My little tag-along I had to raise. Judy chuckled as if remembering something. "You have no idea. When Tom cried as a kid, snot and tears would stream down his face. If I wasn't there to wipe it, that big glob of snot would have dripped right into his mouth. And when he was 15, he got heatstroke during gym class and passed out. He was delirious, flailing his arms around. "I have to go, I have something to do." I stood up, barely suppressing my anger, and managed a tight smile at the adults. "You all have a nice chat." David looked at Judy, feigning embarrassment. Did I say something wrong? I didn't mean to upset him. Judy glared at me, as if blaming me for ruining the mood. Before she could speak, I cut in. "I have a date with my girlfriend tonight. If I don't leave now, I'll be late." "When did you get a girlfriend?" I had one foot out the door when Judy grabbed my arm. How come I didn't know? In front of all these people, with David right there, my face flushed. I yanked my arm away. "Why does it matter to you if I'm seeing someone or not?" My voice was sharp with anger. "My own parents haven't even asked about it. It's none of your business." "Judy," her father said in a stern, low voice. "Sit down. What kind of behavior is this?" I took the opportunity to bow to the adults. "Goodbye, Mr. and Mrs. Reed." Behind me, David's seemingly innocent voice piped up. "Tom's so handsome, and he's always competing. He must have plenty of admirers. It's totally normal for him to be dating. I think I even saw a hickey on his neck earlier." Realizing he might have said too much, he paused, looking embarrassed. "Maybe we finance guys just think differently. We're a bit more buttoned up, while athletes tend to be more open. But I respect everyone's choices." I didn't stick around to hear what else they said about me. I usually dress pretty casually. This was just their way of propping one person up by tearing another down, using me to make him look good. And I could only imagine how Judy would belittle me. But what none of them knew was that while the girlfriend was a lie, moving to Florida was very real. I started researching houses and figuring out my job situation there. I threw myself into it, keeping busy so I wouldn't have time to think about Judy. We grew up together, and she always played the role of the bossy but protective girl next door. She'd stand up for me whenever someone picked on me. When I was 10, I was being a brat and begged her to stay with me at the amusement park until 9 o'clock. Both our parents were so worried they called the police. They finally found us in the sandbox playing house and dragged us home. She took all the blame, saying it was her fault. That night, her dad was so mad he hit her a dozen times with a feather duster. I cried and kept saying it was my idea. But Judy just raised her chin and insisted it was all on her. Later, as I grew more handsome and she more beautiful, everyone started calling us the golden couple. I really thought I had been handed the perfect life script. "When are you free?" A message from Judy popped up. I wiped a tear from my eye. Before I could even type a question mark, another message came through. "Judy, you need to get your stuff out of my apartment. I'm inviting David over in a few days. I took a deep breath and calmed myself. Just 24 hours ago, we were cuddled up on the couch watching a romance movie. When things got heated, we made love until the early hours of the morning. And now, I let out a bitter laugh. I unpinned her from the top of my texts and replied with a single word. K. I locked myself in my room that day. My parents came home not long after I did. Florida is 1,000 miles away, Tom. Once we're there, it'll be a hassle to come back, my mom said, watching me carefully. My dad hid behind his newspaper, secretly observing me too. I pulled on my coat. But the weather there is great. Isn't it your dream to retire there? I smiled and put my arm around my mom's shoulder. The only thing is, it's hard to find a good job there. I'm thinking about opening my own fitness studio. As for competing again, I don't really care that much about it. But, Mom frowned, opening her mouth to speak. Tom, I glanced at my watch. Come on, I'm serious. I'm fine and my head is clear. You don't need to worry about me. You two are the ones who should be thinking about the money. I gave my mom a quick peck on the cheek. I have to run. Talk to you later. I figured time and distance would heal the pain. I felt much calmer. My devout, passionate love had never been spoken, so at least I hadn't lost face. I thought Judy and I would part on good terms. I just never expected to be locked out of the apartment. I stood at the door, typing in the code over and over. Incorrect pin. Incorrect pin. A surge of anger flared up inside me. When no one answered my knocking, my rational mind took over. I remembered I could call Judy. After a few rings, the call was declined. On my 5th try, Judy sent a text. On a date. DND. I took a deep breath, fighting the urge to curse. Password. The next second, a big red exclamation mark seared my eyes. Judy had actually blocked me. I rubbed my temples. I was about to leave, but the more I thought about it, the angrier I got. So I called a locksmith. I was still fuming, not wanting to make it easy for her. I went over to Judy's parents' house and told them the building management needed a copy of the deed for their records. Mrs. Reed didn't even question it and handed it right over. What would Judy do without you? Realizing what she'd said, she gave a couple of awkward laughs. With the deed in hand, I went back to the locksmith. An hour later, I was finally standing inside the home I'd lived in for nearly a year. I could still remember when I first moved in. Judy had stood at the door, hands in her pockets, and said, Tom, welcome home. I looked around the room. The carefully tended plants, the jerseys hanging on the balcony, the skincare products in the bathroom, the fancy dinnerware. I got up and swiftly packed my custom-made suits, designer watches, and skincare products. As for the furniture and decorations we had bought together, I rolled up my sleeves and smashed every last piece of it. When the place was a total wreck, I was exhausted. Just as I was about to leave, Judy came back carrying several bags of groceries. She stood frozen in the doorway. She stepped back out and checked the apartment number. A full 5 minutes later, her face flushed with anger. Tom, are you insane? I shrugged. You changed the password, didn't answer my calls, and didn't reply to my texts. Judy tiptoed through the wreckage in the living room and put the groceries in the fridge. She rubbed her temples and explained, I was on a date with David. If he heard me constantly on the phone with you, what would he think of me? My heart still skipped a beat. I used to tell her I wanted to go on a real date, and she would always brush it off. We're getting along really well. David is a serious guy, so I need to take this seriously and go slow. He's not like you, so when I'm with him, I don't take calls from other guys. She sighed and looked at me, a smile in her eyes. Tom, you haven't eaten, right? I'll cook now, you can eat before you go. Before I could refuse, she added, think of it as a farewell dinner. Do me a favor. I watched her busy figure, my nose stinging. My eyes burned. An hour later, I was certain there was nothing left in the apartment that I wanted to take. Judy had finished cooking and brought the dishes to the table. It was a huge spread. I was thinking that maybe we could still see each other and pretend to be normal friends, after all those years we'd known each other. I reached for my chopsticks, about to grab some food, when Judy's sharp "don't move" stopped me. She hurried over and handed me a small, round saucer. "Just take a small bite of each. I'm going to bring the rest to David while it's still warm." Judy held up the tiny dish, smaller than the palm of my hand. "Quick, tell me which one tastes the best. I'll pack more of that one. If there's anything you don't like, I won't bring it. I'll leave it for you to eat." Clack. I slammed my chopsticks down. Her hand was still suspended in midair. I shot up from my seat, the chair scraping loudly and shrilly against the floor. My voice choked. "You know what, Judy? I never saw you as just a buddy. I was actually in love with you. All those sweet things I said before." My eyes were red as I stared straight at her. I meant every word. I ignored her stunned expression and turned to leave. But now I finally understand just how stupid I was. From that day on, I let Judy go completely. I focused all my energy on planning the move to Florida with my parents. Over the next few days, after handing off my work responsibilities, I started learning about gym management and professional development. By the time I got an invitation to a class reunion, my dad had already sold our old house in the suburbs and had enough money for the down payment on the new one. The classmate organizing the reunion was well-connected and popular. So a lot of people were going to be there tonight, including Judy, of course. Without hesitation, I replied to the group chat, "Tom's in." After all, there was still a lot I didn't know, and this was a good chance to ask people for advice. I got dressed as I normally would and went to the party on time. As expected, I saw Judy and David. To avoid any drama, I sat in the corner farthest from them. Maybe it was because the lighting was dim where I was, but Judy, deep in conversation with the people at the table behind me, didn't seem to notice me at all. "Judy, I can't believe it, you actually landed David. So what happened with you and your childhood sweetheart? You ditch your friends for a guy? We haven't been out for drinks in over half a month. You broke up? Just like that?" I heard Judy's casual I felt perfectly calm. I continued my conversation with the alum next to me and even exchanged contact info. "Do you guys remember when we bet on how many days it would take Judy to win over the department hunk? I think it was a week. So many people had a crush on Tom. The guy could run, jump, looked amazing, and wasn't interested in anyone. Then Judy makes a move, and bam, he's hers in a week." I listened to their drunken banter. I tightened my grip on my beer bottle. After 5 seconds, Judy said softly, "Nah." Her voice was quiet but firm. 5 days. I suddenly felt all the strength leave my body. Finally, I heard her say, "Now that you mention it, I kind of miss him." I stood up and found David blocking my way. "Tom, long time no see." He casually put his arm around Judy's, smiling his suave, gentle smile. I gave a polite smile back, placed my bottle on the floor, and took a deep breath. Then I turned my attention back to my conversation with the alum. I didn't notice Judy staring at me from behind, her gaze lingering for a long time. I had 2 glasses of red wine, so I was still pretty sober. When I went to the restroom, I straightened up my appearance. Everyone was saying they were going to visit one of our old professors later. That included my respected mentor from the sports association. He'd always thought highly of me in school, so I definitely had to go. After making sure I looked presentable, I pushed open the door. "Tom?" David appeared, looking dapper in a white casual suit. "Hey," I replied. As I was about to walk past him, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. I tried to pull back from the pain, only to realize that this seemingly gentle man had a grip like iron. David glanced around, and seeing no one, he leaned in close to my ear. "You and Judy were living together for over 6 months. My sudden return must have really messed things up for you. You're pissed, aren't you?" I froze for a second. So he knew everything. But I quickly composed myself. I had thought we were in a real, committed relationship. This wasn't some affair. I had nothing to be ashamed of. Worried this might escalate, I discreetly started a voice recording on my phone. I tilted my head, wrenched my hand free, and said, "So what if I am? Little Tom, you really are something." David said softly. Taking care of my fiancée for free for half a year, so dedicated. I should really thank you. His previous friendly demeanor was gone, replaced by a blatant challenge in his eyes. Too bad you got nothing out of it in the end. I mean, Judy didn't even give you a title. People in the know might think you were keeping it quiet. Anyone else would think you were just some kept boy. David's gaze was sickening as he looked me up and down. Though I guess it makes sense. You certainly dress the part. I'll have to get Judy to do a thorough checkup. Wouldn't want her catching anything from someone so promiscuous. He then grabbed my collar, pretending to inspect my clothes. You didn't come to this reunion just to try and seduce. I had had enough. I raised my hand and swung my arm, and slapped him hard across his smug face. Smack. The sound was sharp and clear. David clutched his face, staggered back a couple of steps, and yelled to someone behind me, Judy. I heard frantic footsteps approaching, followed by Judy's furious shout, Tom. I didn't turn around. While David was busy playing the victim for Judy, I grabbed his tie with one hand and slapped him again with the other. Are you crazy? Judy grabbed my wrist, but I didn't let go of his tie. Using her momentum, I yanked it back even harder. David cried out in pain. He was shocked and furious. That's enough, Judy shouted, forcefully pulling me back. You've had it out for David from the beginning, and now you attack him when he's alone. We all have eyes. We saw you hit him. She yanked me so hard I stumbled. Look what you did to David. And you? Judy looked at my unscathed appearance. You're perfectly fine. Besides, I know you. Remember when you dragged me to the amusement park as a kid and our parents had to call the police? Who had to clean up your mess then? You hold grudges. You're mad David took your... So you do this. Apologize to David. In the crowd, everyone was looking at me with suspicion and disdain. I let out a cold laugh. Fine, I'll apologize. Judy relaxed her grip. You don't even have a girlfriend. Last time you just said that to spite me. I'll apologize, I muttered, then yelled, apologize for this. I swung hard at the other side of David's face as he hid behind Judy. I shook out my wrist. I'll post the recording in the group chat later. I smoothed my messy hair and flashed my signature smile. Feel free to have a listen. I went home that night. Later, I met with my mentor privately. With everything settled, I felt confident. I was ready to move forward. I didn't have time to pay attention to anything else, focusing solely on buying a house and opening my studio. After a month of intense preparations, our family was on the road. On the plane, my parents couldn't hide their joy. From now on, their retirement would be nothing but enjoyment. And I would work hard to be the one they could rely on. Judy Reed has sent you a friend request. Message. Where did you go? Message. How come I'm hearing you moved? That's just a rumor, right? Message. Please accept. I was so annoyed. I blocked her number. Unexpectedly, half an hour later, Judy called from her dad's phone. My mom looked at me, a difficult expression on her face. I couldn't really refuse, so I took the phone. My dad said you moved. That's not true, is it? The familiar voice made me feel like we were in another lifetime. Judy's voice was rushed. You've lived there for decades. Besides, my mom said she and your mom were going to be best friends for life. You just went on a trip and people misunderstood, right? My tone was flat. We moved. We're 1,000 miles away now. We were renting for now, but once the renovations on the new house were done and it had aired out for a few months, we could probably move in before the new year. But there was no need to tell Judy any of that. I just answered what she asked. After a long silence, I thought she had hung up. I'm going to go now. Wait, Judy said twice, then whispered like a guilty child. I apologized to you in the group chat about the thing with David. You didn't reply. Did you not see it? How could I not have seen it? Minutes after I posted the recording, the chat exploded. Judy was forced to tag me and apologize. She even said she wanted to talk in person. That she'd buy me a gift to show how sorry she was. I didn't reply. Now that she was asking me directly, I answered, I saw it. Before she could speak, I asked, "Was there anything else?" Judy sounded very disappointed. After all, the old me would have chattered nonstop with her even if we hadn't seen each other for just a few days. After a long pause, she said with a tone of resignation, "Are you still mad at me because of David? You were just lying about having a girlfriend to get back at me, right? You're still doing it. While you were gone, I did a lot of thinking. My thing with David was just a passing fancy, and I can explain what happened with him. But you're the one Judy," I said, my voice devoid of emotion, as if I were talking to a complete stranger. "We were just buddies, right? I hope you find an even better buddy in the future." I had a lot to do. Finally, I said, "Don't contact me anymore. You were pretty quick to block me back then. Now you're being awfully clingy." I thought for a moment and added, "It's annoying. I don't know if it was retirement or the climate, but my parents were looking much healthier. If it weren't for having to go back home to handle the house sale, they wouldn't have wanted to leave. I can just go back and handle it myself," I said, looking at some documents. "I can do it." My parents exchanged a look. "No, we don't feel right about that. Besides, the Reeds invited us to celebrate the week before New Year's. We'll go to the party, then fly back for New Year's Eve. The timing is perfect." I hadn't seen Judy in almost 6 months. Turns out, the person I once thought I couldn't live without wasn't so indispensable after all. "Tom, you're here. You look even more handsome." Mrs. Reed was as warm as ever, grabbing my hand the moment I walked in. "Look at that confidence. It's great. So much better to be open and confident." Judy, contrary to her usual self, seemed a bit on edge. She was wearing a white dress and stood behind her mom, smiling timidly. "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Kent. Tom, you've lost weight. Has it been tough?" Her eyes were filled with unconcealed worry, and in them, I could see my own reflection, still bright and self-assured. I gave her a polite but awkward smile and looked down. "It's been okay. I've been watching my weight." After a hearty meal, the sentimental talk began. Mrs. Reed hugged my mom and shed a few tears. At one point, Mr. Reed clenched his jaw. "Mr. Kent, you know I truly love Tom. I really think of him as my own son. That David guy was just playing Judy from the start. In college, Judy was naive and had a little crush on him. So he played hard to get, moved abroad, hoping she'd chase after him. But Judy gave up and started hanging out with Tom right after graduation. So he got jealous and engineered a reunion with her. What's that saying? The best hunters often disguise themselves as prey." Mr. Reed laughed twice. "And Judy fell for it, didn't she? But the good thing is, she realized her mistake. The moment you all left and she couldn't see Tom, she worked herself into the hospital with a bleeding stomach, constantly calling out for Tom. Really, it's not too late. Neither of them is married. There's still a chance." He waved his hand, and Judy immediately stood in front of me. Mr. Reed directed her. "Have Judy apologize to Tom in front of us. She can kneel, kowtow, whatever it takes." I looked at Judy, still as beautiful as ever, but she did look a bit worn down. Her eyes were a little red. "Tom, I didn't know how to appreciate you. The one I've always loved is Mr. Reed. I have a girlfriend," I said, pulling my gaze away from Judy and smiling at her father. "She has a great personality, and she's amazing to me. I'll have to bring her to meet you all next time." Mr. Reed's smile froze, and he looked at Judy with a pained expression. Judy looked like she was about to fall apart. "That's impossible. Didn't we say we were going to get married? Have you forgotten? We're childhood sweethearts. We always said we'd be husband and wife when we grew up. When we played house, you were the dad and I was the mom, and we were together for almost a year. We were so happy." She could no longer keep up the pretense of composure, and her voice choked. We were almost married, weren't we? You're just saying things to hurt me like last time, right?" My dad slammed his hand on the table and stood up. "Are you saying Tom is lying to you? That our whole family is lying to you? Ivy is a wonderful girl, and she's very respectful to us. Even though Tom just agreed to go out with her, our whole family thinks they could really go all the way. Worried he'd get too worked up, I rushed to his side and rubbed his back. Judy, let's not bring up the childhood engagement anymore. It was just a joke our parents made. It doesn't count. You said that yourself, remember? Ultimately, we left on a sour note. As we walked out, thick snowflakes began to fall. Just as I got in the car, Judy was standing in the cold wind, a frail figure with crimson-rimmed eyes. It was just a fling. I was confused. It wasn't until I lost you that I realized how precious everything I once took for granted was. Can you give me one more chance? Her voice was hoarse and trembling. Please. Before I could answer, my attention was caught by a figure in the distance. Under a streetlight, a woman stood elegantly. Her hair was already covered in a dusting of white snow. Ivy, I whispered in disbelief. The woman turned her head, her face lighting up. The tip of her nose was red from the cold. She pulled a bouquet of flowers from inside her coat and strode toward me. Didn't you say you wanted to watch the first snow with the one you love most? My heart ached looking at her. She had been working late just last night, yet she had taken a red-eye flight just for a silly, offhand comment I'd made. Ivy smoothed the frown from my forehead. So I came. Then, she leaned down and said to my parents, Mr. and Mrs. Kent, I haven't been drinking. I can drive. The scene was so warm that for a moment we all forgot Judy was still standing there. She stared blankly as we embraced. Finally, she whispered, I'm sorry. Her voice was very quiet. Maybe she thought I didn't hear it. But in my heart, I silently said, it's okay. Not for me, but for the Judy who was once so warm, the one who used to hold me in her heart. Ready to go? I said, preparing to walk to the hotel with Ivy. I looked at Judy, who looked so sad she might shatter. Then Judy, goodbye. I turned and melted into Ivy's arms. As I walked away, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Judy collapse to her knees in the snow. But that had nothing to do with us anymore. Ivy held me tight, her chin resting gently on my head, and said lovingly, to be covered in the same snow is to grow old together. She leaned down and gently kissed my forehead. Standing there, wrapped in happiness, I thought the first thing you have to do is learn to cherish it.